With version 17, you will see some key new enhancements with respect to how Booklog handles inventory. You'll be able to keep your pricing up to date so your purchase order estimates will be more accurate. You'll also be able to track inventory changes more effectively inside and outside of your system.
Items on your shelves may have outdated prices. If you build a purchase order that includes items with old pricing, then Booklog's estimates for that order won't be accurate because they are based on out-of-date information. If you have an interface with Content and Ingram, now you can update your prices before going through the receiving process. To check your list's price against Ingram's, just go to the inventory menu and double-click on the item. Click the price refresh icon, and Booklog will check to see if the item's price should be updated. If Ingram has a different list price than you do, Booklog will give you the option to update it.
Booklog will now log holds as inventory adjustments and post them in the Adjustments tab. These holds only get logged if the adjustment actually affected existing quantity on hand. For instance, if an item gets checked out for a book fair, or if you run allocate stock to orders to pull items from your inventory to fill open special or mail orders, then that change will show up in the Adjustments tab. If you put an item on hold that isn't in stock, you won't see that change in the Adjustments tab. Another new change to the Item Properties window is that you can get a complete item valuation breakdown for your item. When you click the Valuation button, you'll see the total cost for the on-hand value of the item and its average cost. You'll also see all the receiving sessions for that item, which Booklog uses to calculate its average cost. This item valuation report is also accessible through the Reports pick list.
If you use our QuickBooks interface, then version 17 includes an important change you should know about. During the physical inventory process, you'll be able to freeze your inventory numbers before you start entering new counts. Then unfreeze your inventory once your count is finished. At both those points, you can export your inventory numbers to QuickBooks. When you are doing your next inventory, do an export to QuickBooks right before you freeze your inventory. Then, after your inventory count is over and you unfreeze your inventory, export to QuickBooks again. Booklog does not automatically export to QuickBooks when you unfreeze, so be sure to export before selling or receiving any inventory. That way, you can be sure that QuickBooks has the right starting and ending numbers for your inventory.
If you use Timber as an e-commerce site, then you know the value of the master and sub-SKU relationship between your items. When you create a new item and then use the Duplicate button, Booklog will carry most of the characteristics from the first item, the master SKU, to the one you duplicated from it, the sub-SKU. These items are grouped together when you export them to Timber or if you add them to a promotional pricing event. But the sub-SKUs only inherit the master's characteristics when they are created. After that, they're on their own. Now, any change to the master SKU's department, categories, publisher, vendors, style number, case quantity, or reorder point can transfer to the sub-SKUs as well. Just make one of those changes, and Booklog will ask if you want to pass it on to the item's sub-SKUs.
If you use the multi-store version of Booklog, then you're familiar with stock transfers. Now, in addition to pushing or requesting stock from other store locations, you can add items to a to-be transferred list. Go to the item's properties and click the To Be Transferred button and tell Booklog whether you want to add the item to the To Be Transferred tickler so you can work with it on a later stock transfer, or create a new stock transfer for the item, or add it to an existing transfer. If you add the item to the To Be Transferred tickler, you'll be able to add it to a stock push later on.
Version 17 offers new ways of creating and refining your orders. Your ordering process will be faster and more efficient.
If you've never used Booklog's user-defined lists before, one enhancement in version 17 should encourage you to do so. User-defined lists are like an extra layer of inventory beyond the department and category levels. You can make a user-defined list to handle any kind of inventory grouping, whether it's to group together items on a display table, or items you want to promote on your website, or any other reason, just by going to the Maintenance menu, clicking User-Defined Lists, inserting a new list, naming it, and scanning in the items you want to group together. Once the items are on this list, you can run reports on them, promote them together, and, in version 17, create purchase orders from them. To make a PO from a user-defined list, just add the items to the list, and then auto-create a PO. When you're auto-creating the PO, click Include User-Defined List, and Booklog will add the items from the list you select into the auto-created PO. Version 17 adds 3 new columns to the purchase order pick list. Now you'll be able to see the total quantity, total retail, and total wholesale values for each PO. If your vendor requires a minimum order before filling your PO, or if they offer better price breaks at higher order amounts, you'll be able to assess how close to finished each order is just by looking at it on the purchase order pick list.
Booklog allows you to reserve copies of books that publishers make available for pre-order. These are typically books that the book industry feels have good promotion potential that will translate into high sales. The American Booksellers Association encourages integrating pre-orders into your ordering process, and for a list of books the ABA feels are excellent candidates for pre-orders, please visit https://www.bookweb.org/pre-order-calendar. To flag a book as a pre-order in Booklog, you can go into its item properties, click the Miscellaneous tab, and check the Pre-order Radio button. After you set that flag, it's a good idea to use the TBO button to put that item on a PO, or your TBO tickler. When customers begin to order these pre-order items, they will appear in special orders with a check in the Pre-Ord box. Once you receive the pre-order items, Booklog will ask you to allocate them to those special orders. Pre-order items are also items that you will want to order for your own shelves and not just for individual customers. To be sure you don't over-order these pre-order items, Booklog doesn't display them on the special order import list in purchase orders by default. You will need to click the Show Pre-orders button to make any orders with pre-orders in them appear. Special orders for pre-order items show up in pink on this list. Booklog's EDI agent always puts your most recent transmissions at the top of its transmissions log. But the transmissions below it, older transmissions, which might be for POs that are no longer active, don't go away on their own. With version 17, you can clear them out as you need to. When you go into the EDI agent and click on the Transmissions tab, you'll see checkboxes next to each entry. Leave that box checked for each item you want to delete and click the Clear button to delete them. Booklog will ask if you want to delete the entries, and you can click Yes or No.
If you use Content and Ingram as a data source for your auto imports, you know that you have to specify your own item category and publisher codes during the import process. Otherwise, Ingram will substitute its own codes, making it harder to reorder or report on your inventory. Now, you can set a default category for the items that you auto-import. To set this category, go to the Maintenance menu and click Store. Then, click the Defaults tab. Choose your default category by clicking the drop-down menu for Default Import Cat and make your selection there.
Version 17 adds several new reports to Booklog, most of which were discussed in previous sections of the video. You'll find information about the gift card mail order holds report in the first section, which is on mail orders, and the item valuation report is explained in the third section, which is on changes to inventory functions. But Booklog has 2 more new reports and an addition to the store monitor, which we'll explain in this section.
The Mail Order Item Purchase Order Status Report is a comprehensive new report that shows you every mail order item that is tied to a PO. It's a very flexible report, and you can use it to see all your direct-to-home orders. You can also use it to see all the mail order items that belong to a specific customer, and which of those items haven't been ordered yet.
The new Receiving Worksheet Retail Report makes it possible to print hard copies of your open purchase orders in a format that makes it easy to count and log what you receive in a shipment. If your receiving process involves unpacking items and reconciling them against your packing list, then entering your receiving counts into Booklog, this report makes it easy to compare what your order quantities on the PO were to what you received in the shipment. You can run this report for a specific PO, a range of POs, or every finalized PO you have from specific vendors and within a given date range.
In order to accommodate growing databases, Booklog has made some changes to the way its databases index new data. With version 17, you'll start to see longer numbers associated with things like purchase orders and mail orders. That's an indication of Booklog's new indexing method, which will prevent the tables in its databases from filling up or becoming needlessly cluttered. You can monitor the growth of the tables in your database using the Store Monitor, a dynamic reporting module that gives you several useful data metrics that aren't available anywhere else in your system. To see the new Global ID Utilization Monitor at work, go to the Store Monitor and click the new Database button. In this window, Booklog displays tables in your database that depend on a primary key derived from your database's global ID to index properly. Any table that shows a percentage highlighted in green doesn't need your attention. But if you find one in red, you should contact Booklog Tech Support to get an increased global ID assigned to that table.
With any new update, Booklog provides new functionality and new security restrictions to protect them. It's very important after any new update to revisit your security settings and adjust them appropriately. By default, Booklog restricts any new functions with each update. So you could install version 17 and discover you don't have access to any of the new functions it offers, even if you had full access to everything in Booklog before the update. We'll explain how to change your security settings and what to look for after you've updated to version 17.
Go to your Maintenance menu, click Security, and then Profiles. You'll need to look over each of the profiles in your system to be sure that you and your staff have access to what they need after this update. Start with your own profile. Any function in the window on the left, which is labeled Security Item, needs to be checked to give you and other users with this profile access to it. Anything that isn't checked is something you don't have access to. Put a check next to it to give yourself that access. Any function listed in the window on the right, which is labeled Function Restrictions, needs to be unchecked for you to have access to it. You'll need to uncheck these items if you want to use them. Remember, every update presents new security items, and they are restricted in every profile. Here is a list of the functions that are new in version 17 and where to find them. Book fairs. Edit finalized. Show gift card pin. Gift card mail order holds report and mail order item purchase order status report are all in the Sales and Registers permission group. Cascade master SKU changes, item valuation report, and receiving worksheet retail are all in the inventory permissions group. Along the way, you might have found other items that were checked or unchecked that you believe you should have access to. These functions were introduced in previous updates, and you haven't had access to them. If you think they would be useful to you, or you're just curious about them, check or uncheck them as you need to. Remember to do this for each of your security profiles.
You'll also find several items in the text management module that need to be unrestricted. You'll find access to the eBook Coordination Deletions Report, the Rental Return History Report, the Delete Course function, and the Edit Actual Enrollments function in the Adoptions Permission group. The Rental Returns function is in the Buyback Permissions group. The In-Store Rental Items Report is in the Retail module in the Inventory Permission group.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you found this tour of version 17 useful. If you did, please check out our YouTube channel and subscribe for more videos like this one. Thanks again.